What is a discovery call in sales? And what's the best way of running a discovery call? Now, maybe somebody has booked a call with you, so the pressure's on. What do? Do you pitch? Should you coach them during this call, or should you try to impress them? Most people are ineffective in the way that they run a discovery call. Now, I typically call this a strategy session. I would say a strategy session, a discovery call, they're identical. They're the exact same thing. So for the rest of this video, I'm probably going to say strategy session, but I'm going to break down what is the real purpose of this strategy session / discovery call, and what are the mistakes that people make that prevent you from having it be effective. Let's dive right in. All right, I've got 3 myths that I want to cover first. I'm going to cover these myths quickly, and then we'll dive into the nuts and bolts. Myth number 1. A discovery call is where I close the sale. Now, it is common for me to have a full strategy session, and in one conversation, I do make a sale. But that's not the goal of a strategy session. If you meet certain benchmarks along the way, then you can move to that point and talk about the sale itself. But a discovery call or a strategy session, whichever term you use, think about those words. What are you discovering? Or what are you being strategic about? What are you strategizing? So it's my belief and my experience that you will close more sales if that's not the purpose of the call. If people understand that there's more value there, you will get more people that will schedule those calls with you. If you give solid value, and through them, if you discover a lot more about them, you're going to be better able to help them. Imagine going to a doctor and the doctor didn't ask you any questions. They didn't ask about your symptoms. They didn't ask what your goals are. They didn't ask anything about your nutrition or your fitness. And they just told you about this new drug and wanted to write you a prescription. Like, that wouldn't make any sense. Myth number 2, a discovery call is a free mini consult. So a lot of coaches and consultants, including me, we fall into the trap of giving way more advice and consulting without asking enough questions, without finding enough about them. Now, I have no problem giving away value for free during this consult, during this strategy session. It's going to be limited in time. You've got to have clarity on what your objective is for this call. What do you need to find out about them? And you can set expectations right in the beginning, saying, here's what I hope for this call. You know, it might be something like, I'm going to ask you some questions about your business, and we're going to see if it's in alignment with the strategy that I teach. I need to know how much you understand the strategy, because another thing that we can talk about is I found it to be a very good practice that saves me a lot of time if I have people attend my webinar first, or watch a series of videos first, or read my book first before we have our strategy session, because that way we can really turn it into a strategy session or discovery call instead of just a Q&A call where they're just drilling me questions about my service or about the industry or about whatever. But the most valuable strategy sessions that are actually going to lead to more conversions happen when there's a pre-frame, there's a better setup, there's more education that's happened prior to that call. Myth number 3, if they say yes to the call, they're ready to buy. So I love the enthusiasm. I love it when people just expect, oh yeah, every call, I just expect that they're going to buy. They're ready to say yes. You know, having that type of attitude will make a difference. More people will say yes because of that expectation. But the reality is, if you don't do the pre-frame that I just mentioned, if you don't do things to get them set up, they're not going to be ready. Or you're not going to be filtering out the people that aren't a fit in the first place. There's a lot of work that you can do beforehand that can better qualify the right people and filter out the wrong people, so that you'll have a higher likelihood or a higher percentage of people that you have these calls with will purchase from you. So the first principle that I want to discuss, let's just call it diagnose before you prescribe, okay? So just like a doctor, you've got to ask questions, you've got to really diagnose the problem, you've got to find out the goals. Like, what have these people tried? What have they tried that hasn't worked? What are their frustrations? Where do they want to be? What are they trying to accomplish? And when you can understand that, you can understand the gap. Like, what are they lacking? If they want to go from here to here, but they can only get so far and then they fall back and have to start over, like, do you have the solution to bridge that gap? Can you help them get that end result? If there's no pain, if they don't have any challenge, there's no chance of you making that sell. So you've really got to get in there and understand What are they trying to accomplish? What challenges, etc. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is this is really about qualifying them, not about you performing. So if you feel like you've got to do this amazing presentation and that you've got to say things perfectly, it's like it's the most perfect sales pitch, or like you're doing some audition for their business, those type strategy calls don't do so well. And this isn't an act. You really want to frame it as you need to interview them. You need to find out if they're an ideal fit. You need to find out if their challenge really needs solving and if the solution that you provide can solve their problem. So hopefully the performance happened earlier. Hopefully there's already a relationship of trust that's built long before this strategy call. Hopefully they've seen some of your promo videos before they're talking to you on this call, so you don't have to worry about any performance. You don't have to worry about impressing them. Now, if you start out a strategy session and you're talking about your programs, you're even talking about pricing, whoa, way too soon. You will make a sale here and there, but you're gonna burn so many valuable leads, you're gonna end the conversation before it even starts. So let's look at a flow, like what's a sequence, okay? So step number one is building a relationship, and this should happen long before the call. That's not what a strategy session is for. And you might wonder, how can I build a relationship? Okay, so there's other episodes on this channel that really talk about how do you build a relationship on autopilot that will lead into this funnel. Now, if your business has an educational component, right along with building that relationship is teaching. You really want them to understand your strategy, and you need them to understand how you are different from other people prior to that sales call. Because in that strategy session, you can start asking them questions, but if they still have a lot of questions, they're gonna fire them back at you. And so it's gonna be this battle of question and answer. So you wanna build a relationship and do all you can to educate them before the call. Then when you're in this discovery call or this strategy session, you really need to discover a lot of things about them. You've already given them a lot of information about you. There's already this trust there, but you know nothing about them. So a bulk of this strategy session is going to be asking questions about them and their business, their goals and their scenarios like we've been talking about. So as you're painting a picture about them, then you're going to discover what their needs are and what solutions do they need. And you can start to figure out, is the solution that I provide the solution that they need? So as you paint that clear picture, you've now discovered a lot of things and you do find that they do need your solution. It's only when all those things have been checked that you can then get to the offer and present to them the solution. How do I keep a discovery call from turning into a free coaching session? Well, for one, you can give away free coaching. That'll give people a taste of the value that you will provide when they hire you as a coach. But two, just make sure that you're the one asking the questions. If you look back and you realize, oh wow, this is the third question in a row that they're asking me, then take note of that, right? You've kind of given them a little bit of control in the conversation, and so they're sending questions your way. You can't just abruptly stop and not answer their question, but you can answer their question and ask them a question as a part of your answer. So a question that somebody might ask me on a call is, well, how do I find the right topics to make videos on? And I could talk to them about how to do this research and what tools to use, or, because that's talked in my webinar, I teach that in my book and in my videos. So I don't necessarily want to just go into answering questions like that on a strategy session, but I could turn around and say, well, what types of topics have you tried in the past? Or I could say, well, what is the main offering that you offer? And I could backtrack from there, because you want to make sure that the solution that you offer and the question that they're asking online matches the video, matches your call to action and lead magnet. So you want to make sure it's all linear. So when they ask me a question, I can just turn around and ask them a question. So instead of just giving them training that they could find in a YouTube video, the more detail I know about them, the more I really know what the real answer is for them and the type of topics they should talk about. How do I know if someone is actually a qualified lead? Well, this is just through asking them questions. You ask them all the questions to find out if they're a qualified lead or not. So I actually have a form, a short survey prior to my call, and I have them attend my webinar or watch certain videos. So one of the questions is, do you know what my leaf strategy is? Have you attended my webinar? If they say no, they don't get a link to my calendar. And then I ask them about their business. I say, share your YouTube channel link, or share me your LinkedIn profile if you have that. And then I ask them, what is your business revenue? Where does that revenue come from? So I can find out some of that information beforehand, and then if they choose not to answer some of those questions, or there's obviously a lot of additional questions that I'll have about them, That's what you ask. Those are the questions you ask. How do I transition from discovery into making an offer without being pushy? Well, you can simply just ask them. You can say like, all right, so based on our discussion here, I do have a solution that I think would be a fit. Would it be okay if I share that with you? They'll say yes, because they want to know. They want to know what the pricing is. But you do want to make sure that you're ready for that point. You don't want to jump to that too early. You don't want to assume. If you ask them that question too early, they will say yes, most likely. But you don't even want to ask that question until you know that there's a need, until you know that there's a gap, that they know that they can't fix this on their own. They can't achieve their goal on whatever they've tried before. They are stuck and they need your help. So the things that I'm sharing in this episode are things that I've learned personally in my 15 years of having my own business. Now, what I actually help my clients with is that pre-frame. My clients have told me that their quality of leads have gone way through the roof. Like their strategy sessions that they're having, they're referral quality leads instead of these cold leads of people that are annoyed. So hopefully you can take everything we shared in this video and make your discovery calls a lot better. But I also want to help you make sure that the quality of the leads coming in, that the quality of these conversations you're having is a lot better. So the next episode I want to link to, I'll link to it right there, is why your marketing isn't working. How you can make sure that you're generating referral quality leads into these discovery calls. So definitely go watch that video next.